Well, hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome. I'm thrilled that you're here with me and you've decided to join this session today, which is all about mastering executive presence and becoming the voice of influence in your industry. Did you know 70% of professionals say that public speaking and communication skills are the single most important factor in career advancement? Yet, 1 in 5 leaders will pass up on a speaking opportunity, missing out on that chance to influence, inspire, and drive results. So today, we're going to unlock the strategies that set exceptional leaders apart. And that's the ability to command a room, communicate with impact, and leave a lasting impression every single time that you speak. Now, I do thrive on your interaction, so as you join, please come in, say hi, let me know where you are in the world, and if I ask a question throughout this webinar presentation, please give me an answer in the chat. I really do try to read them all as we're going on, but obviously as I'm presenting, that's not always the case, but I do get to read them later. Okay, so before we dive in, I want to share just this message that I received in the last week from one of my clients. He said, Lisa, I got promoted to head of global insights and analytics. And during the board meeting, the CEO specifically mentioned how my presentation, my clarity, my commanding presence were key factors in their decision. 2 years ago, I was being overlooked despite my expertise, and your coaching changed everything. And Dimitri is not alone. You're going to hear stories today from many leaders like Orkan, who struggled to get his opinions heard in meetings and was then headhunted for a senior role after working with me on his voice and communication. And Arun, who was already a general manager in an Australian government organization, but he avoided every speaking opportunity. And he's now a leader who actually embraces and looks forward to every speaking opportunity because he's worked on the skill set to make speaking enjoyable. So if you're wondering whether mastering your speaking presence and your skills can truly transform your career trajectory, then the answer is an absolute yes. During our time together today, you're going to discover the critical 5-second impact principle that determines whether you command attention or whether you just blend into the background. How to craft your million-dollar message that doesn't just inform with data, but transforms your audience through emotional resonance. And why your voice is your most underutilized tool for influence, and how using stories creates understanding and drives action far better than any data can alone. And most importantly, you're going to understand why every speaking opportunity, whether it's a boardroom, a presentation, a panel discussion, or a keynote speech, could be the hidden catalyst for your next major career advancement or revenue opportunity. Now, I want to be clear about who is going to benefit most from what I'm about to share. This webinar is specifically for senior level leaders, C-suite executives, and successful entrepreneurs who have established themselves based on their knowledge, their expertise, their credentials, and their experience. Now, it's also valuable for those who are just one step away from C-suite positions, and they recognize that mastering these communication skills could be what propels them to the next level. So if that sounds like you are definitely in the right place. Now, who is this not for? Well, it's not for those who are mid-level, lower-level managers. And importantly, this isn't about improving basic English language skills or expanding on vocabulary. We're focusing on presence, on impact, and the emotional intelligence of communication, not language fundamentals. All right. So are you ready to discover how to transform your communication from being informative to being influential? Let's begin by understanding why you should listen to what I have to say today. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Hugo, and I am an award-winning voice and communication coach, and I specialize in working with senior executives and leaders who want to command attention. They want to speak with authority and become a voice of influence. I hold a certification in vocal disorders from the Icahn School of Medicine in New York, and I'm also the author of the book, Voice of Influence. But my expertise goes far beyond these credentials. I studied musical theater and I then went on to spend 15 years traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. Every night that I had to step on stage and captivate audiences, sometimes friendly, sometimes skeptical, sometimes they were distracted. So I know intimately what it feels like to have all eyes on you, expecting you to deliver something remarkable. I understand the fear, the nerves, the doubt that can creep in just before you step into the spotlight. But more importantly, I've mastered the techniques to transform that nervous energy into a powerful performance. I've learned how to use my voice as an instrument to connect with audiences on an emotional level. And that goes far beyond any of the words that I'm saying. And so that's exactly what I now teach executives and leaders just like you. Now, as a pro singer, I never imagined that I'd be coaching CEOs and industry leaders on how to command a room. So let me share with you in brief how I discovered what might be the most overlooked secret to executive success. Now, when I became a mum, everything changed. I didn't want to be performing late nights and constantly traveling, but I still needed something that would fulfill me creatively. So I made what seemed like a logical pivot, and I started coaching singers. I understood the voice, I knew performance techniques, and I could help others shine. One of my students here, she got the golden buzzer and went on to be a finalist on America's Got Talent. But while taking the path to working with singers, something unexpected happened. I started to get inquiries, not just from aspiring singers, but from business professionals, CEOs, directors, team leaders, people who never intended to sing a note on stage, but desperately wanted to learn how to use their voices to be more effective in boardrooms, at conferences, and during those important presentations. Now, at first, I was a bit confused. Why would a business leader come to a voice coach to help with business communication? But then I started listening to their struggles and I realized something profound. These brilliant, accomplished professionals were being held back by something that had nothing to do with their knowledge. They were experts in their field, but when it came time to present that knowledge, to inspire action, to lead through communication, they fell flat. And I had this moment of crystal clear clarity. Your next career breakthrough isn't hiding in a spreadsheet. It's waiting in your ability to command a room with your presence and with your voice. I mean, think about it. Have you been in meetings where someone with less expertise somehow commanded more attention? Have you watched someone with a powerful presence get promoted over somebody with more technical skill? It happens every day around the world. The most knowledgeable person isn't always the most influential. And that's when I began adapting what I knew about stage performance to the unique challenges of executive communication and public speaking. And I started working one-on-one with business leaders, teaching them how to harness the power of their voices, not just the words they chose, but the way they delivered them, how to use silence strategically, how to create emotional connection, even when discussing those really complex technical subjects. Now, I studied communication and the psychology of influence, but I'm going to say I did face some skepticism from some. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, or when people think I'm being fake if I start speaking in a different way with more expression. And they worry that becoming more dynamic in their delivery would somehow make them seem less authentic or serious. And I get it. Change can feel risky. But then the results started coming in, and they were undeniable. Executives who had worked with me were getting promoted. They were being invited to speak at industry events. Their teams were more engaged and more responsive. These leaders felt more confident, more aligned with their true capabilities, more able to make the impact they always knew that they could make. And every time I see a client step into their authority, watching the moment when they realize that they can move an audience, not just with their knowledge, but with their presence, I personally feel fulfilled. Now, I'm still in the performance business. I'm just helping others now deliver the performances of their careers. And that brings me to the big idea that I want to share with you today. Your expertise might get you in the room, but it's your presence that determines whether people will listen. Your voice isn't just a tool for sharing information, it's an instrument for creating influence. And mastering that instrument isn't a nice to have skill for leaders at your level, it's essential. Being the smartest person in the room isn't enough. You need to be the most compelling person in the room. So let me show you how to make that happen, starting with the very first secret that is transforming the careers of executives just like you. Have you ever wondered why some leaders, they walk into a room and immediately command attention, while others, despite their impressive credentials, they barely register? Why certain speakers have audiences hanging on their every word, while others, they watch as people then subtly check their telephones? What I'm about to share might surprise you because it contradicts what most executives believe about communication. Your audience decides whether to truly listen to you within the first 5 seconds of your presentation. 5 seconds. That's all you have. Not after they've seen your impressive slides, not after they've heard your credentials, and in many cases, even before you've even said a word. You've got 5 seconds to grab and hold the attention of your listeners. So I want you to think about this. A lion doesn't need to roar to command attention when it enters a space. Its presence shifts the energy of the entire savannah. The same principle applies in your executive world, but you have just 5 seconds to establish whether you're the lion or you're the gazelle. If you can't command attention, you fall victim to assumption. And once your audience has made those assumptions, well, it's like trying to swim upstream in a three-piece suit, technically possible, but much more difficult than it actually needs to be. Some speakers appear to have a natural gift, a magnetic presence that captures the room the moment that they enter, even before they begin to speak. Now, I can think of one moment that stands out for me, and that was when I saw Les Brown speak in Dubai. The moment he walked into or onto the stage, he was 75, the audience went quiet, and the air temperature, it seemed to drop, I don't know, about 10 degrees. Les walked out. He paused. He looked at the audience. He had this chuckle to himself. He paused again, and then he started to share stories from his life. Now, we weren't just listening to these stories, we were living these stories with him. When he laughed, we laughed. When he cried, we cried. His presence was magnetic. Every story related to a life lesson that taught us all something important and motivated us to be better. Now, undeniably, he has a talent, but that talent had to be nurtured, developed, and practiced to become the amazing speaker that he is. It's like learning to play a guitar. You can be naturally gifted, but if you don't put the work in, you will never amount to anything. And on the other hand, you can be considered not so naturally gifted, but if you learn the techniques and you put the practice in, you can still become great. And speaking is no different. In those first 5 seconds, they are crucial. You know how when you meet someone for the first time at an event, within moments of shaking their hand, you've already formed an impression of them. Your brain has made lightning fast calculations about their confidence, their warmth, their status, and their authenticity, all before they've even had a chance to tell you anything about themselves. And this is based on body language, stance, facial expressions, handshake, dress sense, and their voice. Yes, we do judge people. The same unconscious evaluation happens every time you stand up to speak. And here's what's fascinating. Those evaluations have almost nothing to do with the words you say. They're based on your presence, your energy, and most importantly, how you use your voice as to whether your audience will light up and be engaged when you speak, or they'll drift off into their own thoughts, wondering to themselves, oh, how long is this going to go for? Let me share a little bit about my story with working with Orkan, who I highlighted earlier on. Now, in that first session, I asked him to present an idea as if he were presenting it in a meeting. Within seconds, I knew exactly what was happening. His voice was weak. He was monotone. He started his presentations with hesitant phrases like, well, I was thinking that maybe, or this might not be the right approach, but his body language was stiff and he wasn't holding eye contact. Now, I'm sure his ideas were exceptional, but his delivery was undermining him before he even had a chance to get to the substance. I showed him how to adjust his breathing to support a more resonant voice. We worked on opening up his posture to project confidence, and we worked on the way he initiated his speech, eliminating the apologetic language and replacing it with very clear and decisive openings. The change was remarkable. Within weeks, Orkan told me that colleagues were listening. His ideas were being implemented and his opinion was actively sought after. And 6 months later, well, he was promoted. A year after that, he was headhunted for a position in Germany, and all because he learned to make the right impact in those crucial first 5 seconds. Have you ever noticed how people respond differently to you based on how you enter a room or how you begin a conversation? Have you felt that frustration of knowing your ideas are valuable, but sensing they're just not landing with the impact that they deserve? Could some small adjustments to how you initiate communication dramatically change how your expertise is received? Let me know. The 5-second impact principle works because it aligns with how our brains are wired. Human beings make rapid, unconscious judgments about authority. Does this person have the right to lead this conversation? Credibility. Can I trust what this person is saying? Engagement. Will paying attention to this person be worth my time? And these judgments happen at a primal level, far below conscious thought. And they're primarily influenced by voice quality. Is it resonant? Is it varied? Is it controlled? Or is it thin? Is it monotone? Or is it uncertain? Physical presence. Does the speaker occupy the space confidently, or do they seem to apologize for existing? Energy projection. Does the speaker radiate confidence and certainty or hesitation and doubt? When you master the 5-second impact principle, you're essentially speaking directly to the unconscious mind of your audience. You're establishing your authority before you've formulated even your first complete sentence. And this isn't about theatrical techniques or becoming somebody that you're not. It's about removing the unconscious barriers that prevent your expertise from being fully recognized and valued. Now, I can hear what some of you might be thinking. You're thinking, Lisa, shouldn't my expertise and my data and my analysis all speak for themselves? And that leads directly to the second secret that I want to share, which is transforming presentations from boring data dumps into messages that move people to action. I mean, have you ever delivered a presentation that was packed with information and data and expertise, only to look out at a sea of blank faces, surreptitiously switching off or checking on their phones? It's one of the most demoralizing experiences for any leader. You've put hours into preparing your content. You know your material is solid, but somehow it's not landing. And what if I told you that the problem isn't in your expertise or even in your delivery, it's in how you structure your message? And that leads us to the second secret, the $1,000,000 message framework. It's a bit like the difference between giving somebody all the ingredients for a gourmet meal versus serving them the perfectly prepared dish. Imagine dumping flour, eggs, butter, sugar, chocolate chips all on the table and saying, "Here's your cookie." That's what happens when you present raw data without having a transformative framework. All the elements are there, but they haven't been combined and shaped into something that people can digest and enjoy. The $1,000,000 message framework is the recipe that transforms raw information into something irresistible. So I want to share with you a bit of a story about my client, Sharad. He is a principal leader at a major consulting firm, and he was recommended for a partner role. And so he needed to pitch himself to the board. Now, despite being technically brilliant, his presentation was dense information all about his achievements, his accolades, all along his career path. It was boring. Basically, his resume glorified into a presentation, and it was completely unforgettable. Definitely not something that would make him shine above his competition. There was no story, no emotion, no connection, no demonstration of who the person Sharad was and why they should consider him other than his technical expertise and experience. So I challenged Sharad to tell me a story about one of his career achievements that he'd already mentioned in his presentation. And he told me about a hair-raising moment that he'd had where he experienced a tornado approaching on an oil rig. I asked him, how did he feel in that moment? What did he do? How did he manage his teams? What came out of this was a story that was so powerful and so connected to who he was as a person, how he managed in fearful, stressful situations, and how he demonstrated his ability to push through and keep his team safe in a moment of extreme challenge. So I recommended that he start his entire presentation with this story. He was reluctant. That would mean breaking the norm, getting uncomfortable, and doing what other people don't do, which is normally, "Hello, my name is, and today I'm here to present to you." Sometimes, if you want to be exceptional, you have to step outside your comfort zone, and you have to be different to others. And sometimes it's hard to break boundaries and be different. But when you do, you stand out from the crowd and you go from being ordinary to exceptional. So we worked on this presentation to implement the $1,000,000 framework that I'm going to share with you. And he did start with the story, and he did secure the partnership and has been forever grateful for the valuable input and the coaching that he received to get him there. So I shared with him what I'm about to share with you, and that is the $1,000,000 message framework. Have you ever felt that your audience wasn't grasping the full significance of your message despite thorough preparation? Do you sometimes struggle to make technical or complex information interesting and engaging, even when you know that that's critically important? Would you like to know how to structure your communication so that it not only informs, but it also inspires action? The $1,000,000 message framework consists of three essential elements. Informational foundation. Yes, your expertise and your data do matter. This is what you've been trained to provide throughout your career, and it remains important, but it's only the foundation. It's not the complete structure. The second is emotional resonance. Research shows that decisions are made emotionally first and then they're justified logically afterwards. Your message has to create an emotional connection before the data can be truly valued. And this comes through stories, analogies, and a clear articulation of what's at stake. The third is transformational outcome. Your audience needs to see clearly how your message will change something that they care about, their success, their efficiency, their status, their future. And without this transformational component, even the most impressive data is going to fail to motivate. When you can integrate all three elements, something remarkable happens. Your audience doesn't just hear your message, they feel it. They don't just understand your data, they see its implications. And most importantly, they don't just appreciate your expertise, they act on it. And this isn't about dumbing down your content, it's really about elevating the impact it can have. And contrary to what many technical experts fear, adding emotional resonance and transformational elements doesn't undermine your authority. It actually enhances it by demonstrating that you understand them. You understand the human context of your expertise. So we've covered the importance of commanding the room with your presence, crafting a message that demonstrates authority, emotion, connection, but the next secret is probably the most important of them all: how you use your voice and tell stories that make your message memorable and sticky. That's the voice and story advantage. I mean, let's be honest, in every boardroom, on every stage, and in every high stakes conversation, the leaders who can command attention aren't just the ones with the best data and the most impressive titles. They're the ones who know how to use their voice and their stories to connect, to influence, and to inspire. I mean, you have to agree, some voices simply command attention, trust, and respect. And what most people don't realize is that these commanding voices aren't gifts of nature. They're carefully crafted instruments of influence. When I ask people to think of an iconic voice, Morgan Freeman is the most mentioned name that I hear, alongside Barack Obama. Before Morgan Freeman became a Hollywood star, he was a struggling actor with a quiet and unremarkable voice. Few people know that he spent years deliberately crafting what would become one of the most recognizable voices in entertainment history. I mean, Freeman's journey began with a simple realization that his natural speaking voice wasn't serving his ambitions. And then through study and practice, he developed his signature deep resonance. He learned to harness the power of pacing and strategic pauses, allowing his words to land with impact. Most importantly, he discovered that authority in voice comes from intention and control. Your voice is an instrument and it needs to be tuned. It represents you. It's the bridge that connects your ideas with your listeners. And unless you've been trained to be an actor, a voice artist, or a singer, no one teaches you how to use your instrument. Your voice is always giving off messages, whether you mean it to or not. If you speak with energy, with warmth, with conviction, you draw people in. But if your delivery is flat, hesitant, monotone, you risk losing your audience before your message even lands. If you speak loudly with no melody, you come across as being aggressive. If you're soft-spoken, you're going to sound weak. If you have downward patterns in your voice, you will sound sad or you'll sound disinterested. If you've got an upward inflection, you're going to sound questioning, insecure, maybe even annoying. I have seen this countless times over with my executive clients. People may not remember every word you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Your voice is the tool to shape that feeling. When you have full control, when you can shift your tone, your pace, and your volume with purpose, you can engage, you can entertain, you can move your audience. You can make your message land with impact. And your voice will also make your stories come alive, just like they did with Les Brown. Facts inform, but stories transform. When you share a story, especially one that's true to your experience, you invite your audience into your world. You make your message stick. You make it relatable. According to Forbes, 63% of attendees remember stories from a presentation, but only 5% remember statistics. Let that one land. A well-told story can do what data alone never can. It can move people to believe, to care, to act. And when you share your story with authenticity, you give your audience permission to see themselves in your journey and to imagine new possibilities for themselves. When you use your voice to breathe life into your stories and you use your stories to give meaning to the message, then you create what I call the influence advantage. So let me share a quick example. Ifa is a client of mine. She's a successful marketing executive, but she lacked the confidence to show up. We worked on finding her authentic voice and crafting her personal story. I helped her to find and craft her pivotal moment story so it would have a strong connection to her audience and be very relatable. This was quite challenging, but it was also very rewarding. Now, Ifa went on to leave the corporate world and start her own successful coaching business, where her personal story and the way that she delivers it are now her greatest assets in connecting with her clients. One of the biggest fears that I hear from leaders is this: Lisa, I want to improve, but I don't want to feel fake. I don't want to sound like I'm putting on a performance when I speak. And if you've ever worried about that, you're not alone. In fact, it's one of the most common concerns that I hear, especially from high-achieving executives who really value integrity. It's a bit like learning to drive a high-performance car when you've only ever driven economy models. At first, this new vehicle, it's going to feel strange. It's going to feel uncomfortable. The handling is going to be different. The acceleration is going to be more responsive. You might grip the wheel too tightly. You might brake too suddenly. But after you practice, those new driving skills in this new car become second nature. You're not being inauthentic to your driving style. You're expanding your capabilities. You're still you, just with an enhanced ability to navigate the road. Communication skills work the same way. New techniques might feel awkward initially, but with practice, they become an authentic expansion of your self-expression. I want to tell you a bit more about Arun, who I also highlighted very early on. When Arun first came to me, he was adamant. I have never been good at speaking to groups. It's just not in my DNA. I'm an introvert. I'll always be. He was scheduled to present at a major industry conference. Great opportunity to be seen and to show up as an authority, but he was seriously thinking about sending someone else in his place. Now, during our first session, he was very stiff, monotone, clearly uncomfortable. And when I suggested some adjustments to his delivery, like varying his pace, incorporating some pauses, making eye contact, he was reluctant. That doesn't feel like me. If I'm doing all of that, I'll seem like I'm putting on an act and people are going to see straight through it. I explained that authenticity isn't a fixed state. It's an evolving expression of our true selves as we grow and as we developed. And I asked him to reflect on some other skills that he developed throughout his career. Had he been born knowing how to raise venture capital? Had he been born knowing how to manage a team? Of course not. He'd learned those skills through study, through practice, and now they were authentic parts of his professional identity. communication skills are no different. We started small and we focused on just one element, and that was strategic pausing. I showed him how intentional silence could create emphasis and give his audience time to absorb his most important points. It felt awkward at first, but then as he practiced, something interesting happened. The pauses became natural, and he noticed that they gave him more time to breathe, to think, to connect with his audience. And we gradually added more techniques: vocal variety, movement, storytelling. And each one initially, again, was uncomfortable, but with practice became integrated into his natural style. Now, the day of the conference came, and he was nervous, but he was well prepared. And then what happened next astonished him. Not only did he deliver his presentation without the usual anxiety, but he actually enjoyed it. For the first time, he felt a connection with his audience. He saw them leaning in, nodding, engaging with his ideas. Lots of people approached him afterwards wanting to continue the conversation. I think, if I remember rightly, 2 investors requested meetings, and he was asked for an interview in a major publication. I remember the next day he sent me a message saying, "Oh my gosh, my confidence skyrocketed once I was on the stage. I never experienced this before. It was the first time I took pleasure in being able to perform. And the pleasure part was always missing in previous presentations. I used to be focused on what I'm going to say next. And this is now a whole new experience. I love speaking in public." The techniques that had once felt inauthentic had become an authentic part of his expanded self-expression. So have you ever learned a new skill that felt awkward at first, but eventually became second nature? Can you remember a time when you grew beyond what you thought were your natural limitations? Would you agree that the most authentic version of yourself isn't static? It's one that keeps evolving, keeps developing new capabilities. Let me break this down into 3 simple steps. First is about practice. Think about learning to drive. Remember how awkward it felt at first? You had to consciously think about every little move, but now you drive without even thinking about it. Communication skills work the same way. What feels uncomfortable today becomes second nature tomorrow. Second, take it one step at a time. You don't need to change everything overnight. Start with just one thing. Maybe it's pausing more. Maybe it's using more vocal variety. Master that until it feels natural, then add something else. Small steps lead to big changes. And third, surround yourself with growth. We naturally pick up habits from the people around us. And when you spend time with powerful communicators, whether that's in a group program or through a mentorship, you absorb those skills almost by osmosis. The science backs this up. Our brains are amazing. They're constantly rewiring themselves throughout our lives. When you practice new communication techniques, you're literally creating new pathways in your brain. And eventually, these become your default way of expressing yourself. It's not about putting on an act or becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming more fully you, just with an expanded toolkit to express your brilliance. So we've covered a lot of ground today, and to be honest, we've only just scratched the surface. We've discussed how your voice is an instrument of influence that can make or break your impact as a leader, how stories told well will connect with your audience emotionally and make your message memorable, relatable, actionable. We've explored how reinvention is always possible, regardless of how long you've been communicating in a certain way. And we've talked about the importance of making an impact in those first 5 seconds with your presence, and why it's so important to frame your message in a way that is easy to understand. And we've unpacked the true meaning of authenticity. It's about full expression, not limitation. Now, I want to ask you an important question. Where do we go from here? You've got two paths forward. The first path is to take the insights that I've shared with you today and try to implement them on your own. You can experiment with your vocal variety, you can practice storytelling techniques, you can work on commanding presence through trial and error. And many leaders choose this path, and over time, they do see improvement. But the second path would be to work with someone who's dedicated their career to mastering these skills, someone who can offer you personalized guidance, feedback, and a proven system to transform your speaking skills. Someone who can help you identify your unique strengths and challenges and create a customized plan to elevate your communication to the highest level. So let me ask you, if you were learning to play golf, would you rather read a book about golf techniques, watch some videos, and then practice on your own, hoping that you're going to be doing it right, or work directly with a pro who can assess your specific strengths and challenges and provide personalized guidance, giving you real-time feedback and dramatically shorten the learning curve? If you're serious about mastering executive presence and becoming a truly influential communicator and leader, I think the choice is clear. Just as the leaders I've highlighted today decided to invest in expert guidance rather than struggle on their own, you too have the opportunity to transform your communication skills with professional support. So let me share with you how we could work together to ensure that you become the voice of influence in your industry. I'd like to introduce you to my Executive Voice Mastery Program. This is a comprehensive, personalized coaching experience designed specifically for senior level leaders and executives who want to transform their communication impact. This isn't a generic public speaking course or a one-size-fits-all program. It's an elite, tailored mentorship focused on developing your unique voice of authority and presence. Now, through this program, you'll develop a commanding presence that ensures people listen when you speak. You'll master the art of emotional storytelling that moves audiences to action. You'll harness the full power of your voice as an instrument of influence. You'll transform from merely informing to really inspiring. You'll build the confidence to seize every speaking opportunity as a career-defining moment. And in short, you're going to develop the communication skills that match the level of your expertise, allowing your brilliance to shine through in every interaction. The program is a 12-week program, and in this program, you'll get access to one-on-one coaching. You get access to my VIP mentorship program. I'll explain more in a moment. And you get access to our community. So the private coaching is 6 hours of one-to-one coaching, and we'll work together in private focused sessions via Zoom, addressing your specific communication challenges and your goals. And in these sessions, we're going to master your voice, build your confidence, establish your presence, work on stage technique, practice presentations. And these sessions are completely personalized to you, to your unique speaking style, your industry, and your goals. And they are absolute gold. Next, you'll get access to my VIP mentorship program. You'll get unlimited access to this comprehensive online training platform, which includes the Voice as an Instrument module, where you'll discover how to develop resonance, projection, emotional variety in your speaking voice. The Transformation Framework module, showing you how to structure presentations for maximum impact. The Speak with No Fear system, which gives proven techniques to convert nervous energy into powerful presence, and the Executive Storytelling Blueprint, where I teach you how to craft and deliver stories that create understanding and drive action. You're going to join our exclusive Speak to Impact community of executives and leaders who are committed to communication excellence. And there you're going to be able to participate in bi-weekly live Q&A and coaching sessions. You're going to learn from the challenges and successes of your peers. You're going to receive ongoing support and accountability. And it's going to help you stay motivated and connected throughout this whole communication transformation journey of 12 weeks. Join the long list of leaders who have taken action and they have developed their skills, like Prakash here, who's the founder of Ollie Ollie. It's an immersive children's play museum, and he was regularly invited to speak on radio and in interviews, but he found it so difficult to stay on point and make any impact. He dreaded the moments, but now he had an aha moment in every session, and he's on his path to achieving his goals. Vicky here, she said Lisa knows how to explain in simple words in a very visual way what needs to be done to produce a better sound. Fabian said each session brings a noticeable improvement that quickly translates into results. And Shula said, I started to feel a difference in my voice, and this boosted my confidence and my enthusiasm. And then Dennis said, I feel much more self-assured, energetic, and willing to step out of my comfort zone. Then Deepti here, well, she said, I landed a new job and I'm moving forward with renewed energy and purpose. And Danes said, while I was confident in my technical expertise, I knew my communication skills needed work, especially as I stepped into a management role. And then he says, through our sessions, I learned how to present myself authentically and confidently. And this landed him a new job, a new paycheck. So if you're interested in exploring whether this program is right for you, here's what I recommend. Let's schedule a personal assessment and discovery call. And during this 45-minute session, we're going to analyze your current communication patterns and identify your greatest opportunities for improvement. We're going to develop a clear picture of your communication goals and what you want to achieve, and we'll determine if we're a good fit to work together. And if appropriate, then we're going to create a personalized roadmap for your communication transformation. Now, this assessment call is not free. It requires a $97 investment. Now, I charge for this call because it makes sure that both of us are committed to the process and that I'm speaking with serious professionals who really do value their development. And even if you decide not to continue with the full program after our call, you're still going to get valuable insights about how you communicate, what's your communication style, and specific recommendations that you can go away and you can implement immediately. So to schedule your assessment, all you need to do is click the button that is just appearing now on your screen. And for those of you who register for a call directly right now while you're on this webinar, and then during that call decide to join the program, I am throwing in a very special bonus. At the end of the 12 weeks, once your skills are developed and you have built your confidence, we're going to meet in a professional podcast studio in Dubai, and I will interview you. You get the real feeling of showing up as an authority under lights and with multiple cameras. You can then showcase your expertise, and you'll come away with a professional recording that you can use on your professional profile, on your LinkedIn, on your social media to build your personal brand and your credibility. And if you can't make it to Dubai, then we can record this interview online. That's no problem. This is an incredible opportunity that I don't normally include in this program, so it's exclusive to you right now on this webinar. So go click that link and get your call scheduled in. Now, I understand that investing in yourself at this level is a significant decision. You might be weighing this against other priorities or wondering if this is the right time, if you have time, but let me ask you, what opportunities might you be missing because your communication doesn't match the level of your expertise? What promotions, projects, or platforms have gone to others, not because they were more qualified, but because they were more compelling? And most importantly, how much longer are you willing to let your brilliant ideas go unheard or undervalued because of how they're being delivered? The leaders that you've heard about today, they once stood exactly where you are now, wondering if investing in their communication skills would really make a difference. Their results speak for themselves. The question is, are you ready to join them? I often tell my clients that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the decision to speak despite it. The difference between those who shrink away from opportunities and those who seize them isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to step forward anyway. Each time you choose courage over comfort, you expand your capacity for both. Would you agree that the moments of greatest growth in your career have often come from situations that initially made you uncomfortable? Amy Cuddy says, find a group of people who challenge and inspire you. Spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. And this is why surrounding yourself with others who are committed to communication excellence is so transformative. When you're a part of a community of growth-minded leaders, their standards become your standards. Their achievements inspire your achievements. And you begin to see possibilities in yourself that you might have missed on your own. Isn't it true that you've accomplished more when you're supported by the right people than you could ever have accomplished on your own? Now, Rosalind Carter once said, a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but they ought to be. I love that. This is the ultimate purpose of mastering communication skills, not just for personal advancement, but the ability to move others towards important truths and necessary actions. When you can speak with clarity, conviction, emotional resonance, you gain the power to guide your organization, your industry, or even your society toward better outcomes. And isn't that the true measure of leadership? Not just what you achieve personally, but what you enable others to achieve through your influence. And finally, I want you to consider this. If you want to be in the top 1%, you have to do what 99% of the people are not prepared to do. Now, the vast majority of executives, even highly successful ones, never invest in mastering their communication skills. They rely on their technical expertise and wonder why their brilliance isn't fully recognized or rewarded. But those who commit to excellence in both expertise and self-expression, they become the rare leaders who really shape their fields. They're the ones who are invited to give keynotes, to lead industry initiatives, and to advance to the highest levels of influence. So which group are you wanting to belong to? Let me quickly summarize what we've discussed and the opportunity that's in front of you right now. The Executive Voice Mastery Program includes 6 hours of personalized one-on-one coaching directly with me, tailored to your specific challenges and your goals. You get complete access to my VIP mentorship online program with modules on voice mastery, presentation structure, confidence building, and executive storytelling. And you get membership in our exclusive Speak to Impact community with bi-weekly live coaching sessions and ongoing support. And all of this is centered around a 12-week program. Plus, don't forget the bonus of the podcast studio recording if you register right now on this webinar and subsequently do decide to join the program. This comprehensive program has transformed the careers of executives across industries, helping them command attention, inspire action, and step confidently into their authority. So now it's decision time. The button is on your screen, and that's going to take you to my calendar, where you can schedule your call for $97. This is your assessment and your discovery call. And on this call, we're going to analyze your current speaking patterns, identify your greatest opportunities for improvement, and create a personalized roadmap for your communication transformation. So I guess the question you might be thinking is, why act now? Why not perhaps later on? Well, that's first because these assessment slots are limited, and I want to make sure that you secure a time that works for your schedule. But more importantly, because every presentation you give, every meeting you lead, and every opportunity to influence that passes by while you remain in your current communication patterns represents a potential loss, a loss of impact, advancement, recognition, and income. I mean, think about it. What important speaking opportunities do you have coming up in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Wouldn't you want to approach those with a dramatically enhanced set of communication skills? The sooner you begin this transformation, the sooner you'll experience the benefits. So here's what to do right now. Click the Schedule Your Assessment button on your screen. Select a date and time that works for your calendar. Complete the brief application form questionnaire about your current communication challenges and goals. Make the $97 investment to secure your assessment. Mark your calendar for our call, and this is going to be that very first step in your communication transformation. And even if you decide that the full program isn't right for you after our call, you're still going to walk away with valuable insights about your current speaking patterns and your specific recommendations that you can implement effective immediately. The executives you've heard about today, Dimitri or Khan, and all of the others, they all started with this very same step. They recognized that investing in their communication skills wasn't an expense, it was an investment in their future influence and success. So, will you be joining them? Now, before we wrap up today, I do want to sincerely thank you for investing your time with me, because I know as an executive, your time is incredibly valuable, and I'm honored that you chose to spend it, some of it, here with me. I want to leave you with this thought. Knowledge without action is just potential waiting to be realized. You could leave this webinar, file away these insights, and continue as you are, or you could take the next step, register for this assessment call, where I'll personally give you the blueprint to develop your strategy to win every room. And even if you don't choose to take the opportunity, I urge you to take action in some way. Invest in your voice, practice your techniques, film yourself speaking, do something that moves you forward, because the world needs leaders who can communicate with power and with authenticity. But if you're ready to stop watching others get promoted ahead of you, if you're tired of having brilliant ideas that never get the attention that they deserve, if you want to rise from being just another voice in the room to being the voice in the room that everyone remembers, if you're ready to master the art of speaking like a leader, then I invite you to please go click that button, go register your call, fill in your details, make the payment, and get that call locked in. And I look forward then to speaking with you very soon and helping you to unlock the full power and potential of your voice and your presence. Okay, thank you again. I wish you tremendous success in your leadership journey. We'll keep the button here for just a little while longer, and I hope to see you soon.